There he is, Mr. America.
No cheers.
They roll faster.
I don't think they do. I am 99.10% sure they do.
Pause. So we're going to look at number 6. So, to more fully answer your question, you are adding 1 to the 2. But we're adding 1 with a denominator of 8. Because if I want to make this, if I want to turn this fraction right here into a 1, what has to live right here? What over 8 equals 1? 8. Okay. So we're adding 8 over 8 to this. We've already got 2 here, so 8 plus 2 is 10. That's why it turns into a 10. That's why when we do this one, there was some other borrowing ones, wasn't there? That's why when we do this one, it's 13. Because 9 plus 4 is 13.
So you just do whatever is on the top, like the fraction on the top, and then
add it to the, yes, that's right. And so you are, so in kind of answer your question, you are adding 1, it just looks a little different because it's a fraction. Asher, what questions do you have? I know you have some, because I heard the words that came out your mouth earlier. Never, ever, ever be ashamed of asking questions. If you want to be ashamed of something, which you shouldn't be ashamed of things, because shame is, a tool of the enemy. But, no. If you are going to be ashamed of something, you should be ashamed of not asking the questions. So, what questions do you have, sir?
I just rushed out.
Okay.
Because I was going to play video games with my brother, so I just rushed out.
So don't do that in the future, because that's a bad plan. We're going to take a quiz right now. Oh, do we have other questions?
On number 5, I got 1 and 3 over 2.
On number 5, you got what now?
1 and 3.
1 and 3 halves is what you got. How'd you did that? I think that's the same thing you said you got, or was it no? I was on number 7, something. Gotcha. So how did we do that?
I did stack.
Good. So when you stacked it, what did you put on top?
8.
Okay, so you put 8, negative, and 2 and 5 thirds. Then what you did?
I did 8 minus 3. And
Therein lies our thing. Because we got to deal with getting these as with a common denominator and all these other things. So there's actually 2 ways to look at this problem. I did it both ways because I chuckled when I did it and I thought it was so much fun. You can either borrow from the top and the bottom, or just the top, depending on how you do it. Okay. So let's all look at this one together. Because I suspect there are others of you. Hello, machine. What you do? There you go. To my machine. You're a chin. I always talk to my chin. Where else would you talk? When you're looking down at the screen. I wonder if my batteries are dying. I feel like something is going wiggledy-wobbledy. No, my pen batteries. So we're going to do negative 8 plus 2 5/3. Okay. So we have to have something over here to subtract from. Because we're doing subtract. If we're doing addition, this problem would be easy. Just add them up and then convert your weird, strange number into something that's usable. Right? But we're not adding, we're subtracting. They are not. That is a lie. That's right. So we're subtracting. Yes. Yes, that's right. So since we're not adding, we are, because the signs are different, we are subtracting, which means we've got to have something over here. So we've got to borrow.
But why would you write plus sign? That would just be 2.
I put a plus sign because it's a habit to put something here, and adding a negative is the same as what? And if you want to have a good reason why I decided to go ahead and put it in here today, even though you asked that question last time, it's because I've been trying to pound into y'all's head that this sentence since the beginning of the year, and hopefully eventually it's going to go there. In fact, it seems like it has. So it won't actually confuse you because you understand now. What is subtraction the same as?
Fractions.
Not fractions. Division is the same as fractions. That one you got in there. Good. Yay. What is subtraction the same as? It's the same as adding a negative. Right? Right. Okay. Now, we've got to borrow. Right? So we're going to take one away. So this turns into a 7. I've got to put something with a 3 over here. I'm actually going to do this. I did it in one step down here, but I'm going to do it in 2 up here. So y'all can really see what's happening. So if I want something that equals 1 right here with a 3 in the denominator, what's got to be on the top? 3. Now that's not enough, because I'm trying to take 5 away from that. Hello? Other machine? Maybe you'll catch up by the time I delete all this. Okay. Oh, there it is. Good job. Thank you, machine. Okay. It got scared. It knew I was going to beat it up. Okay. So that's not enough because we're trying to take away 5. So what do we got to do now? We got to borrow again. So we're going to borrow from here, turning that into a 6. And then what's this going to turn into?
4.
No, we're not adding 1.
13.
We're adding the denominator plus the numerator, right?
6.
So it's going to be 6. So then we can subtract. What's 6 minus 5?
1.
1/3. And then what's 6 minus 2?
4. No, 7.
What? No, 6 minus 4. We borrowed twice. It's right up there in black and orange.
But 6 minus 4?
6 minus 2 is 4. Worthington, Ohio. It's probably a scam. What do you want to bet? Let's find out. Hello? I wish I knew more Spanish.
Just tell him we're doing math class, tell him. Yes.
Press 1 for something.
If you just said yes.
Press. No. It was a recording. It wouldn't have done anything. I would have had to say C. Oh, no.
No.
I should have totally pressed 1 to talk to somebody. That would have been funny. Because I know a tiny bit of Spanish. Tiny. Muy poquito. Okay, 6 minus 2 is what we were saying. Sorry, recording people, I got a scam call and it happened to be in Spanish, and so I was trying to learn to use my rudimentary Spanish skills to understand what the heck it was about. It's really funny. They're like, you're not listening to us in English, maybe we'll call you in Spanish. Maybe it'll work this time. Okay, so 6 minus 2 is 4. The answer is negative 4 1/3, right? Because that negative's on the top. Wabamo.
My sister keeps getting spam calls from like people all over Lubbock.
From
all over
people?
Texas.
Yeah, the numbers change every time.
They'll call for Miranda or Jonathan. Like, hello, are you Miranda? Beep.
So I did this problem 2 ways, just for the curious. I thought I would show you, because maybe 1 or 2 of you might think it was fun, like I did. This is the way we just did it. I just borrowed 2 instead of 1, and so I did it in 1 step instead of 2. So that's the way we just did it. This is a different way you can do it. And what this way I kind of reverse borrowed. So this is for the 1 or 2 of you that might think this is fun.
I think that's right. My dad, with like sensations like that, my dad calls it making your inner dolphin go off.
What sensations? What you talking about?
Like when you have something that's just like.
Oh, it's just fun. So I borrowed backwards because this. You don't have to do it this way. You don't even have to understand it. For those of you who think this is fun, here it is. And it's also on recording, so you go back and say, look, my teacher's crazy. Okay, so, whatever it is. And it even sounds good because I have a mic. So, they can really understand how crazy I am. So, this 5/3 is bigger than 1, right? So I subtracted 3 off of there and turned it into 2/3, which stuck 1 more on here, so I added 1. So I reverse borrowed. And then I still had to do a borrow from up here because I didn't have anything to subtract from.
Will we run that later?
No.
Well, how do you run that?
What?
How do you run that?
Because I understand how fractions work. Now, I say you won't learn it, but the more you work with fractions, the more you will understand how they work, and the more you could probably do it yourself if you wanted to. See, the thing about some of these things, and one of the reasons why, and it's like it kind of goes back to your question up here, because there are 2 things that are important in your math career right now. 2 things. One is, I used to think was not very important, but I have just since decided I was an idiot in my beginning years of teaching and think it is important because it helps boost confidence and other things and all these other things. And that first thing is mechanics. And that's things like memorizing your multiplication facts and just memorizing how to do integer stuff. Just memorize stuff. And that is very helpful. I used to not think so, but I do now. And the second thing, and this one I still think is more important, that you're learning right now. And that is your understanding how and why they work. So when we get to learning that multiplication and division are opposites, right? Later you're going to learn about things like cubing something. And you'll learn that cube root is opposites of that. And all kinds of crazy things. So as you learn some of these things, and the reason why I pushed really hard on things like subtracting is the same as adding a negative is because if you understand that and you understand why these things work, then it makes these other things easier. It makes it easier to understand that when you have a problem like -3 plus p equals 6, even though there's an addition sign, what you're really trying to do is get rid of that. So you would add 3 to both sides, right? So we're learning why things work. It's one of the reasons why this level of math is kind of hard. Is because we are moving from concrete to abstract at this point in our math career. So far, yeah, that's right. That's middle school age and curriculum is honestly some of the hardest school and times of your life you will have. At least in your brain, anyway. They do start getting more and more abstract thought. They also start to stink. How did I do number 1? Right here, girl.
Why is it 4 and 13?
Because we had, when we borrowed, are you paying attention or are you discussing life things? Because if you didn't do the problems right because you rushed, maybe you should slow down now. True facts. We can't do this. We got to borrow, right? Okay. So we're borrowing 1 from this, turning it to a 2. That's not your question yet. Now, we're adding 1 to this number right here, right? That's what we do when we borrow. We take 1 away from there and add 1 over there, right? Okay? But for this one, we have to do a 1 with a 9 as the denominator, right? Right? Okay. So if I have a 9 down here and I want this to equal 1, what's got to be up here? 9. And so I'm adding 9/9 to this. What's 9/9 plus 4/9? 13/9. So that's why this is a 13. Because you're always adding the denominator to what's in the numerator.
But how do you know when to do that?
When you're borrowing with fractions.
But you borrowed with fractions on other problems.
We did that way every single time. Every time we did it that way. There's not any of them that we didn't do it that way. I suspect it's in your notes that way too. I could be wrong, of course. You could have gone Lone Ranger on us and copied down whatever you wanted, but I don't think that happened. Does that make sense, though? Okay. All right. So we are going to take a quiz. For our at-home human,
Just the 1.
I'm gonna you need to do the quiz. No cheating. And you can bring it on Thursday. Or when does this class meet? Wednesday. Okay.
But are we taking off spring break
We are absolutely taking off spring break.
next week?
Is next week spring break?
No, I think it's this. Well, that's
It's definitely not this week. I thought it was in 2 weeks. Is it
No, it's next week.
is it next week?
It's next
Is it coming up that fast? Good Lord.
I know because I have my spring break Boy Scouts trip.
Well, that sounds great.
That's my brain.
I tell you all the time.
Spring break.
157.
Where do we live?
What are you?
Lubbock, Texas. March 14th.
And I also checked the.
What is happening?
I also checked the science class calendar, and next week is phenomenal.
How did it? This year is so fast. So fast. Yes, we're taking off school next week. So on Thursday, she can give her quiz back, and y'all can get your quiz back, and I probably will still grade hers real quickly, and everybody will have their quiz back at the same time. Because after this class is over, I'm going to sit right there and grade your quiz. So, let's take a quiz.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was that? was that a Disney character? It sounded like a Disney character.
Great English Mickey Mouse.
And
A psychotic Mickey Mouse? Everyone,
The heading that I want you to put on this page is quiz
Asher's Mickey Mouse.
mixed fruits. No, nuts. No. How about numbers?
Mixed nuts. Mixed nuts. Nuts.
That's old.
But yeah, that's like.
That doesn't mean you can't say it. I say old things all the time, of course.
I know, but it's on there.
If you say so. Okay. Comedy is a very subjective thing. This is a true fact. Number 1.
Are we going to do this quiz here?
You're going to do it right now. Is 4 1/3 minus 2 2/3. You may do these, by the way, in any method you wish. You can use either method. Just do it right. Number 2. Make sure you slow down enough to copy them down correctly. Number 2 is 12 and 8/5.
How many columns are in there?
4 plus.
Is that a 5 or a 6?
Where?
On the 8. 12 and 8.
It's a 5. Now I have a question for y'all because I keep getting that question a lot. What 6 have you ever seen that has that?
Alright, well, okay.
Yeah, but it's so
small.
I mean, I know my 3s look weird, but still.
Oh, 8.
What 6 have you seen that looks that?
That could be easily mistaken for one of your 5s.
No, it could not. Not even a little bit, because you see, 5s go like that. Not like that. Anyway, we're still taking a quiz. This is apparently distraction. This is apparently everybody shows up late day and distraction day all in once. Great. So great. It is 8/5. Thank you for asking instead of just getting it wrong. 12 and 8/5 plus 6 and 2/5.
Is that 5?
I said fifths out loud with my mouth.
Really? I thought you said it like your shoulder. Or quite possibly.
I said fifths. You see how the tone changed? That means hush and focus. Deal? Thank you. You're not in trouble. Just redirect it. No. Not even a little bit. Disappointed. Just sometimes with middle schoolers, you have to get just a little loud because their brains are loud. It's true facts.
I mean,
We're going to do 9 minus, yes, I did, 2, and let's say 4/7. And then finally, number 4 is, there's going to be 4 problems. Quizzes are usually short.
Yes. Told you he's a Mickey Mouse.
What was I doing? I got distracted because I was answering a question. 3 and 2/7 minus 5 and 6/7. Ready, set, go. Subtracting numbers with unlike denominators. I imagine we will finish this up on Wednesday. And yes, you will have homework on Wednesday because you should be able to finish it easily before you end up on spring break. Everything we are doing in this class always cycles through review. That's how we do these. We already learned adding and subtracting mixed numbers, but now we're doing unlike denominators. We've already learned everything.
I mean, I'd hardly say we've learned everything.
We're going to end up, after spring break, heading into some proportions. If we're lucky, it won't be confusing, and you will understand it first time.
What happens if you just yell straight into the mic with your mouth right next to it? Probably some ear-splitting noises for our friend.
Okay. You have a friend? Let's do some examples. So this is the same thing we were just doing, except now we've got to get a common denominator, right? So example number 1 is going to be 2 and 4/5 plus 3 and 2/7. So, what should we do?
Wait, can we still do stacking?
We're still going to stack them. That is absolutely true. We're just going to have to add another step. Because we can't add fractions with different denominators, can we? We sure can't. Okay? So we're gonna get a like denominator. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and stack them. That way we're gonna set up 2 4/5 plus 3 2/7, right? We got to get these as a common denominator. We're going to essentially do the butterfly method to get the common denominator, but I'm going to write it a different way.
But don't you normally put the bigger number on the top?
Yeah, it's probably best to stay in that habit. It doesn't matter for adding. Sorry, that is probably a good idea. That is probably a really good idea. That way we stay in the habit. That's a great thought. You don't, like I say, you don't technically have to with addition, but that's probably a very good idea.
Well, imagine the child having
I don't have to imagine that. I experience it all the time.
no, that much is evident.
That much is evidence.
Considering you are the teacher of nuance.
I knew it was headed there. You gotta watch that head of yours, soon you won't be able to fit through doors. Okay, so essentially we're going to use the butterfly method, okay? Because now sometimes there's going to be a smaller number. We may look at some that there's a smaller number you can use, but we're gonna multiply up here times 1. But we're going to use a 1 that's going to make our numbers the same. So up here we're going to do 5/5. Because if you multiply something times 1, it's still the same number, right? So this is legal. Makes sense? That's why we can do this. The bottom one, we're going to multiply times 7/7. Where'd those numbers come from? The denominators of the opposite ones. That's right. Okay.
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
What do you mean?
Because the denominator of the top one is 7.
That's true. We have to do it as the other fraction though. Because if we did it, I'm gonna just walking through completely. If we did the top one as 7 times 7, we'd end up with 49 on the bottom, right? I don't know why I'm still writing with that. That's terrible to read. We'd end up with 49 on the bottom because 7 times 7 is 49, right? And then on the bottom one, we'd end up with 25. So we'd still have different denominators. So that wouldn't help us. So that's why you have to pick the opposite one. So so on the top one we're using this denominator, and on the bottom one we're using this denominator. So that we end up with the same thing. So we've got 3, and what's 5 times 2? 10. So we have 10, and then what's 7 times 5? 35. And then on the bottom we have 2, and what's 4 times 7? 28. And then we already said 5 times 7 is 35, right? So now we've got like denominators. Now we can add them together, right?
But where do you get 10 over 35?
2 times 5, 7 times. That's how we multiply fractions, right? Straight across. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's 10 plus 28?
38.
38. Over 35. And then 3 plus 2? Okay. Now we don't want to leave this right here as a mixed number, as an improper fraction. So we need to convert 38 over 35 to a mixed number. So how do we do that?
Divide.
Mm-hmm. Which one's going to go in the house?
38.
So 35 goes into 38 how many times? Once. And then 1 times 35 is, of course, just 35, right? What's 30? Focus. Thank you. Remember? Brain loud. Me loud. Okay. Okay. What's 38 minus 35? So close. Just as close.
3.
3. So for this mixed number, I end up with 1 and 3/35, right? But when they're that close, just count the difference. 6, 7, 8, 3, right? You can even use those digits when they're that close. Okay, so this fraction is 1 and 3/5. So what do I do with the 1 to stick it back in over here? Where is that 1 going to go now? It's going to go with the 5. So 5 plus 1 is 6. So 6 and 3/35 is our answer.
Where did you get 6?
Because 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay, let's do another. Actually, what we're going to do, because time is, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. Which means there won't be any subtraction on this homework set, only addition, because that's all we did. All right, homework.
Do we have any homework on Wednesday?
I did already say that. You know, usually when I'm talking out loud, I kind of expect you to listen. But since you didn't at that moment, I shall help you out because I'm kind and generous. Yes, we will have homework on Wednesday because you should easily be able to finish it before spring break. True facts.
Well, you have to, Lizzie.
Because spring break does not actually start until Monday. If you wanna feel extra cool, you could say Saturday, but that's when spring break starts.
That's when my spring break starts.
So by my math, you have 2.5 entire days to do some homework at that point.
You know, I mean,
Get big
So are we still doing science?
We won't have any classes that week, so you won't have science class. I can't speak to homework. You're gonna have to ask your mean old science teacher.
So the day after tomorrow will be virtual, or will we finish?
The day after, we will have class on Wednesday.
Okay, and then next week.
That's right. That's right.
And if I don't, then
2 ninths plus 2 and 4 15ths. You're welcome, Gina.
Wait, how is that going?
How many problems?
At least 3.
Do I like 450?
Less than
Is
100.
that my thing?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do 6 and 8/12. Should we have a sneaky problem? Yes, definitely, of course. Is that actually a question?
Why did you even ask that?
2 and 1/3. And number 3 is going to be 2 and 1/10 plus 3 and 7/8. That's to make up for the 2 previous problems. Number 4 is going to be 6 and 18 thirds plus 2 2/5. That's your homework. That's your time. Copy it and goodbye.